The Witcher 3 is the best game of all time. You can't change my mind, don't bother trying. As such, we are going to make a badass, epic Witcher diorama with lights and a fog machine. Okay, here's my plan. I like the idea of this being a wall-hanging diorama to save surface space for more practical things. I think a box shelf with a swinging glass door would be ideal for this case. 12 by 12 by 5 inches should give me enough space. The setting for this piece will be in a rocky, Polish forest during early fall. I want to capture a moment in time just as Geralt and Roach notice the sound of a Leshen from a nearby cave. I like the idea of a campfire lighting the two figures in a soft, flickering orange light. In contrast, the Leshen will be lit in an eerie green glow from surrounding mushrooms and fungus. Additionally, he will have a low fog forming around his feet to increase the spook factor. I want to keep the background fairly simple, so a painted aurora borealis should suffice. Lastly, I want to brighten everything up with a little moonlight. Okay, this is a doozy of a project, so let's get started. The first thing to do is the 3D modeling. I ended up using this free Leshen model because it was perfect for my piece. The link is down below if you'd like it for yourself. On to making the wooden box shelf. The rough edges need to be planed first, but of course my blade was dull. Don't mind my jerry-rig setup, I didn't have access to my parents' workshop at the time. The smell of cedar shavings. Now that they're all cleaned up, it's time to get to cutting. A miter box is handy for getting those 45-degree cuts. Unfortunately in my case, the angle was still off by about a degree, so I designed and printed a shooting board to get the exact angle with my hand plane. Much better. Now the power switch needs a cozy little cubby to live in. Perfect fit. I wanted the door to sit flush with the front, so I chiseled a mortise to inset the hinges. The pieces for the front door were small enough that I could use my old and very rusty hand miter saw. Thankfully, the angle is already perfect for these. And through the magic of video, the inset rabbet for the glass is done. It's finally time to assemble the box. Then sand, and sand, and sand. Oh, the joys of sanding. Done. Phew. And I think the box turned out pretty decent considering my severe lack of equipment. I decided to stain the wood in a walnut as a darker look suits the dark theme of the piece. And yes, I should have done this prior to gluing. Whoops. I think these little brass accoutrements really add a lot to the feel of the piece. XPS foam is a good, cheap, and lightweight material to create the major land masses with. Yep, I still need a hot wire cutter. Maybe one day I'll make money from my videos so I can buy one. This cutout is for the battery and wiring. I also designed and printed a fog vent to go under the Leshen's feet. Then I cut a groove for the fog hose. Time to solder up the 12 LEDs for this project. I had to experiment with resistors to get the brightness just right. Success! It glows. Oh hi, it's been 3 months since I touched this project, but now it's time to sculpt the land. I mix my sculpt mold pretty dry so it retains its shape and cures pretty quickly. Das air dry clay is a good way to get more control and add extra texture. Real rocks and pebbles make great rocks and pebbles. Go figure. Lastly, mixing some sand and glue into plaster results in a cheap and easy texture paste that gives the ground a little extra grit. Painting is still one of my weakest hobby skills, but it's something I'm trying to slowly improve on. Wooden dowels make great trunks for conifer trees. Next, I drill some holes through the dowel for the branches. Then I glue 3 lengths of wire into the trunk and paint the whole thing. Static grass makes some decent fir needles. I learned this technique from Luke Towan. One of my trees broke while I was adjusting it, and I decided to use it as a dead tree in the piece. I made a few saplings from plumber's hemp and wire and then trimmed them down with scissors. I learned this floral wire wrap technique from the terrain tutor. I'll link his video down below. These naked trees need some bark, paint, and foliage. This tree here is a birch tree. Milliput is one of the best products to get a smooth and flat birch bark. I had some leftover milliput, so I quickly sculpted a little tree trunk. I like using hot glue for my basic trees. You can see more about how I make these in the info card above, and I'll link it down below as well. I wasn't happy with my large pine tree, so I came up with a different way of making it. I didn't film it because I wasn't sure if it was going to work at the time, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, so I'll be making a tutorial for it in the coming weeks. I'll link the video in the card above and in the description once it's live. Next, I used some leftover super trees to make simple bushes in varying colors. Unfortunately, my SD card had a conniption and I lost the footage of me painting the land, but I followed the same principles outlined in Luke's video linked below. I flocked in a few colors of Woodland Scenic's fine turf using some watered down matte medium and IPA. I decided to try hot glue to seal the resin again because I learned from Black Magic Crafts that IPA will make it pop right off at the end. Mixing blue and yellow acrylic ink gives the resin a good mountain river color. Since this is supposed to be a fairly fast-moving river, I mixed in some baking soda to make it look a bit more like churning water under the surface. Translucent clay allows light to pass through, so I used it to sculpt some glowing mushroom caps. Then I glued them to the LEDs with UV resin. It looks like Blackmagic Craft was right. This came off way easier than it did last time I tried it. Next, I cut the lip off the edge of the resin, and then the masking tape can come off. Next, I glue in the trees and blend them into the terrain with some clay. Coconut fiber makes excellent forest floor material. This is the same stuff used in terrariums. It's cheap and very effective. Debris tends to get caught behind river rock, so I added some there as well. Gloss medium is a great alternative to Mod Podge if your water needs a little more oomph. At long last, my little darlings can go where they belong. And the bushes too, I guess. Although it was a lot of extra work, I'm really happy I decided to make a door panel for this piece. I think it adds a lot to the final product. Now all that's left to do is paint the back panel and we're done. Before I roll the glamour shots, I just want to say thank you for watching if you've made it this far. Let me know what you thought of this build in the comments below and give me a thumbs up if this video provided a little entertainment to your day. It's time to roll the glamour shots. Catch you next time.